welcome to the new episode of Gavin and Craig's Pretend Podcast.
Yeah.
I am Gavin. I'm joined by
Craig.
How's it going, man?
It's good. We've got all new assignments.
Yes.
Gavin's got notes, and I have a poor memory. So
we are here to enlighten each other and all of you fine listeners out there. We have some good assignments this time. We had a theme this time. Artifacts from the year of our births, which for you, what was
1974.
74.
A great year.
Yep, 77 for me. And we gave each other stuff from our year, so which is cool because there's some obvious things in there, but we wanted to keep it, 77, of course. If I gave you Star Wars, that would have been kind of...
Yeah.
Star Wars will get its due. Don't worry, good people.
Yes, there will be a Star Wars episode, but
I think it's bound to come up a few times, so I don't want to assign you Star Wars.
In retrospect, we maybe could have done a good Star Wars episode based on 74 and 77,
but... Who knows?
It's not to be.
And 74 for you, and we found some good stuff. So we can't wait to dive in and tell you all about it. We movie watch. So I guess we can disclose what the topics of the episode are. Yeah. The table of contents. Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3 from 1974 was assigned to me,
and the movie House, a Japanese horror classic from 1977, was what I watched.
Yes, and then we branched out into music, and I was assigned the classic album Diamond Dogs by David Bowie, which should
Fantastic.
Be a no-brainer, but I'm actually not super familiar with it going into it, other than the Rebel single and a few of the hits off there, and it's interesting, so I can't wait to talk about that. So I got Diamond Dogs on deck, and you had...
I had Kraftwerk, the Trans-Europe Express,
yes.
Which was, only familiar to me in the most sort of surface sense, having heard other people who had heard other people say things about it. So
yeah, kind of in the same vein for each other. Then they're technically classic albums that most people would stand by and defend and all this, but we're familiar with, but not super.
Right.
And then we chose our childhood favorite candies that we won't disclose until the finale of this episode, just to keep you on the edge of your seat. What kind of childhood favorite candies could there be?
Which one of us is the chocolate lover, and which one of us is the fruity, chewy guy? You don't know yet.
Listen and find out. But yeah, so 74 and 77, where it's at. Children of the 70s. I'll be turning 40 in mere weeks now.
Me too.
And so is Craig. And, so that kind of tells you where we're at. But, do you have an earliest memory of birth, of just life in general, since we're just kicking this off with our lives?
One of the earliest memories I have as a person who was alive and aware of things actually is Star Wars, but we'll save that for another episode. And one of my earliest memories other than that is... I can remember I grew up in Indiana, at least till I was 6, and I can remember we had this split level house and with avocado green carpet in it because it was the 70s. And I can remember I had dropped, or my brother or sister, somebody had dropped this heart-shaped thumbtack on the floor, and I can distinctly remember my mom saying, "Pick up that thumbtack." You dropped it on the floor, and I don't know if I just thought, I didn't drop it, I'm not picking whatever it was.
Right.
It didn't occur to my probably 4 or 5 year old brain at the time. Well, you should pick that up. You're going to get hurt.
But I
didn't. And then later I stepped on it, and I can remember picking up my foot as my little foot was in incredible pain with a thumbtack stuck in it, and having a heart on the bottom of my foot because there's a heart-shaped thumbtack, and screaming for help. And my mom coming up, and I guess it just tickled her because I remember just laughing in my face with this heart thumbtack stuck in my foot. Yeah. So I do remember that.
That's pretty,
and all the other stories are similar to that, cutting my hand open
some kind of injury
with a knife
thing
when I was supposed to be not cutting open a grapefruit, and it didn't.
Don't walk with that straw in your mouth.
It's all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, those tend to be the earliest ones. I don't have a specific. You hear people's stories of like, I remember looking up from the crib, man, and I'm like, Jesus, really?
And I was like, I can remember a vagina.
Yeah, I saw the light coming through the gaping vagina, and I knew that it was my time.
I was like, I gotta go into the world.
I was like, Jesus, man, that's a good.
Like, that's horrible.
Yeah, mine's usually stuff that you piece together too, like going to get great granddad for dinner kind of thing, and I'm like, Jesus, man, how old was I? Like,
how old was he?
Yeah, everybody's
he's like a billion.
And I'm like, that must be the earliest thing, or just like falling down the driveway waiting for my brothers to get home from school or something, or I'm just like, wait a minute, so I must have been preschool and this and those things where you piece it together. But
and then you're just like, what the hell were my parents doing? I was just
falling around and
stumbling through a driveway at 4 years old.
Totally, I just wonder. And so much of it's based on photos too. Like you just like you'll have some old photo album or something like, oh yeah, that was that,
Yeah.
It makes like some memory, whether it's accurate or not, stick in your head. And yeah, so that's what's weird. Kids these days, I wonder if I always have this theory that they're gonna have better memories because like everything's documented in photos. Yeah, so we'll see. Who knows? When they do their podcast, maybe we can find out.
Right. 30 years.
They will remember their actual birth. And, so it was a little longer to be expected, but
that's right.
The dinner was great, and but so yeah, I mean that's where it all starts. 77, 74.
That's right.
And did you have any like alternate assignments? I had like stuff from 77 I was looking at for you. And I initially was looking at 74 stuff. I wasn't sure if we were going to assign each other's year, vice versa kind of thing.
Oh, man. Yeah.
And there was some dogs, because like I said, Star Wars would be the obvious one from 77. Mm-hmm. There was like Elvis Costello album I love. My Aim is True came out in 77. But I was like, I want to go with something that I kind of am familiar with, but I'm not a huge Kraftwerk fan either. I mean, I like them, but we'll get into it. But do you have any alternate choices? Or just when you saw it, you knew it?
And so forth? I did discover in the process of doing this that the classic beer Miller Lite was first introduced to America in 1974, and I'm drinking a can right now.
In honor of it, yes.
That's the sound of Miller Lite. And
Woodford whiskey was also invented in 1970.
Nice.
Not actually, but
it was not.
But
should either company ever want to sponsor a podcast,
we are all.
That's right. I like Miller Lite. That's so weird.
Delicious. Yeah, I think that would be before 74 though. That's crazy.
It feels like it's been, I mean, the can, like, the best thing about Miller Lite is not the beer.
Maybe, the light, so it was like Miller obviously was around.
Yeah. I think it must have been, yeah. But Miller Lite.
Do they even sell regular Miller now?
Ooh.
That was something. I remember digging in at one point about that, but it was like, maybe
you don't.
Like,
really
yeah, because what's the champagne of beers one? High Life. Maybe that was like, I think, the original or something.
High Life.
But anyway, it's a delicious...
The worst headache you'll ever have. It's fantastic.
That's what I was drinking all day yesterday. That's probably why I'm dragging a bit today.
Just not quite as sharp as I should be.
I saw one, and I can't remember if it was 77 or 74, but I thought it'd be cool to assign you a whole YouTube concert, because they are like pretty amazing that you can find.
I did not even think
and I had a whole concert of Genesis.
Whoa! With Peter Gabriel?
Yeah.
Is he like in a triangle suit and like spinning around on the stage?
I always was sort of familiar with Genesis, but I never realized like how like prog rock ridiculous.
Weird, dude.
Yeah, and he was like wearing like mask and he'd disappear for a minute and he comes out, he's like, hey there, like Mephisto type shit, and I'm like, what the fuck? This is like, because I know, like, obviously, like guilty pleasure, Phil Collins and stuff later, and even even the later Genesis, and then Peter Gabriel, even because I never really even was familiar with him being the singer, and like but Shock the Monkey and shit was all right, but I didn't think they were like ever like classic rock, prog rock kind of shit like that, and. I mean, even the band just looked like bored out of their mind, but like into it. They're all like just the guitars are all just like sitting down and shit. And Peter Gabriel would just come out with like a weird light on him, and he had like a flower costume, and he's like, "This the time And like Phil Collins is like the coolest one in the band because he's like just like rocking out back there. I mean, they're doing technically cool shit, like all that kind of. That's just definitely not my kind of music anyway. I just didn't realize. I always thought they were at least just crappy poppy or rock stuff. I didn't realize it was
I do distinctly remember seeing it online somewhere. It's been years now. Like Peter Gabriel comes out on the stage and he's like dressed as like a pyramid.
Yeah.
Freaking
so weird,
crazy person. He's like kind of spinning slowly while singing. He's like, ah!
And he's singing in like weird voices and stuff. And it's like, how the fuck is Phil Collins the coolest one in this band?
If you have maneuvered yourself into a position where Phil is the cool guy.
I was like, wow, as much as I would love for Craig to have to watch this whole thing, and there would definitely be plenty to talk about, I can't officially assign this to him. But
there were a couple things like that where I just thought, man, I could just totally. But I like I feel like if the spirit of the thing were like one of the ideas I had for a podcast was like the worst of like that would be okay, but like I don't just want to like stick it screw yeah.
So
I think Jaws maybe came out in 74 and that seemed like way too easy, so I skipped it and ultimately ended up at Pelham because there's sort of a little bit of a crossover between the two.
And House actually has a referenced crossover. Did you stumble across that?
I don't know if I picked up on it.
Shall we dig in?
Yes.
All right. Do you want to kick it off, or
why don't you go first with Pelham? Right. Sure.
So as we were saying with our movie choices for this episode, Craig assigned me "Taking of Pelham" 1, 2, 3, classic movie. It's one of those. It's been even remade 2 times, I think.
Yeah,
now,
I think there
since
was
this
like a TV
original
version and then a Denzel version.
Yeah, Denzel and John Travolta. Is it? I've never seen it.
You guys, I hate John Travolta so fucking much.
Yeah, I think that.
Just like the only saving grace. He has 2 saving graces in his entire life, and one is the Sweat Hogs, and 2 is that Quentin Tarantino likes John Travolta. Like he can't pick a movie to save his damn life. His hair freaks me out.
Painted on or something.
Oh my god, it's so fucking weird.
Well, this is not the version we're talking about. Luckily, maybe we'll save that for the worst of episode. But yeah, when you pair them up, I mean, I don't even have to see the other one, but just to know that Robert Shaw is the main villain in this one, and I'm assuming with John Travolta's playing the same part in the other one.
Yes, a similar role.
But Robert Shaw, if you're not familiar, Quint from Jaws, he's the bad guy. Quick premise of this movie is pretty straightforward. It's a guys hijack a subway in New York.
It's the 70s. There is no really sort of safety checkpoints or anything.
Pre 9/11.
4 guys get onto pre 9/11. They get onto a train. They're each carrying weird parcels and have fake mustaches on, and they are. Which I
wrote the note down while I was watching. I was like, "What the fuck was with the mustaches and the hats?" And like, they actually did trick me, but I just thought it was like such a bad '70s movie thing. It was like they just assumed everything, and then they all like rip on. I'm like, "Oh, oops, no right, scratch that up." Got me. I was like, "Why do they all look the same?" But anyway, it's a cool movie. It's one of those movies Again, like Diamond Dogs, even though I know of it and had seen parts of it,
it's
maybe,
hard not to
but
like glanced against it.
It was a dad movie in a sense. Cable, like as you're a kid, you always like kind of walk downstairs, and your dad would just be like watching it on a Sunday afternoon on the Channel 5 Sunday movie or something. It's just one of those fuck off, kid. I'm watching Taking of Pelham. Like, what are those?
Quint is about to have his moment.
But yeah, so it was pretty awesome just to dive into that and get to know it. The director, Joseph Sargent, apparently this was kind of his only real. Like, I looked him up. He did like a lot of like TV movies, and he's been consistent, but he never really did anything that was like, oh shit, him. But it was cool, and like 70s is like such a cool time for movies too. Like, where it's like 60s were when music got awesome, but like 70s is when movies got awesome. You could tell they got a little more, and it's kind of more of a final thought. But like, it's funny when movies like this, you feel a little sorry for the actual movie because it's like one of those ideas that kind of has been like so many other movies have copied it in a sense, and even this isn't a totally original. I'm sure they're not the first heist movie or whatever, but it's just one of those things. It's like watching the first Lethal Weapon now, even it's like just it does take a little bit away from it because it's like so many cop movies where this is I'm supposed to retire in a week kind of thing. I'm too old for this shit. Yeah, I mean it's just kind of a lot of those kind of things where it's just like Speed and all those kind of movies where it's basically the same premise, but you can tell that this is kind of fresh, because there's not a lot going on throughout the movie other than just like a standoff movie, and it's cool because Walter Matthau is the guy, basically is he the police? Cop, transit cop, and he just cool seeing him do like serious stuff, which I'm sure he did a lot of when he was younger, but at the same time, being from our generation, we just kind of associate him more with like grumpy old men, and even like Bad News Bears, he's kind of just schlepping around,
Yeah, I looked at, like, he was about 50 or so, I think, when this came out.
Yeah.
And like he just looks like your grandpa. I mean, like, you're just like 50 years old, even in the 70s, was not what it is now.
Just the shirt.
I mean, maybe I just think that because I'm 42. But
yeah, it's crazy. He was just straight up grandpa there, and then it's funny, just like the kind of like. And apparently the book had like a lot of like racial undertones and stuff where I was like, but I was just like right off the bat, I was like, wow, different times for sure. Like the Chinese businessmen come in to like watch them at the station, and he's like, somebody get these little monkeys out of here. And they're like, who brought the Chinamen? And I was like, oh Jesus, man, this is racist. And there's like a bunch of racist shit the guy says on the actual train when he takes it over and stuff. And some of the heist guys too is weird character actors that are like just people you've seen a billion times but not necessarily huge actors. Martin Balsam, I guess his name is. He's just like this he's like the main guy that makes it to the end of the movie. Yeah. I know him from Mitchell, if you're not familiar with the Mystery Science Theater did a great episode of Mitchell. It's a Joe Don Baker movie. And,
I do know Joe Don Baker.
It's basically a Dirty Harry knockoff, and the main bad guy is this dude, and he's like, and it's just like they confuse all these like Italian mob bosses, and he's like, Mitchell, watch out for falling rocks, and he's just like the perfect like 70s little shitty guy. Turd. But he's pretty awesome. We'll get back to him. And Hector Elizondo, I think it is.
Elizondo. Yeah, he's been a lot. You'll recognize him.
Yeah, Pretty Woman, I guess, and like he's on that horrible Tim Allen sitcom now. But yeah, he's just one of those people who, like, you would think there'd be more like, oh shit, when you're looking at his like filmography there, but you're still kind of
like, just it's sort of underwhelming. He has worked consistently.
Yeah, he's just always been around.
He's
and
real creepy.
Does good.
He's a turdy dude.
Yeah, he's a little shitbag, and Jerry Stiller's in it too. He's like one of the guys there, so that was cool.
The other guy who is one of the hijackers is probably best known today for being Wilson, the next door neighbor on the other the Tool Time Tim Allen show. Okay,
I think because I was never too familiar with Home Improvement. And,
he sort of looks like he could be like Herman Munster's son.
Yeah,
but
a lot of dead people.
Yeah, but he's dead now.
Most of these people,
he's dead. Man, well, I mean, it's been a while.
Yeah, damn. So good cast, good solid cast all the way through. I dug it, like just right off the bat. I thought it was cool. Of course, I thought it was a good movie. Where they but weird in that sense too, like where they don't build up a lot of shit the way they do with movies now and stuff, and characters will just do some totally random thing. The editing kind of thing always seems a little weird when you watch old classic movies, and even watch like Cool Hand Luke a while back, and like just like, oh, yeah, this movie is great, and then it just like ends like real abruptly or something, like just seems like
I guess the story's done.
Storytelling back then was way different, kind of, but so that's cool, and just the hijack from the get go, and they had a lot of jokes in the sense of like the mayor being like, well, if we free them, we get 18 sure votes, like there's a lot of just like kind of what seems like obvious
like
jokes.
It's real weird that like in the movie the mayor. Like he's sick, so he's got the fever, he's got the flu or something, and so like most of the time he's just like laying in bed. Like at one point, this nurse gave him a shot in the ass and stuff. Like, why was this? I mean, I guess he's just an unpopular mayor anyway.
Yeah, they all hate him, and you wonder too. Like I didn't really go far enough to. Like the book was real successful. It seems like something that they would just write in for more details on a book, So maybe that was just something that they had put in the book to develop it more.
Maybe so, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty weird. But and then there's a sleeping passenger Like the whole, he's kind of like the drunk joke, And there was a ton of jokes like that were like, because definitely, I guess, like 70s New York, even into 80s New York, where like Muppets Take Manhattan had like a perfect example of like when something crazy happens, they're like, oh well, it's New York, like that whole like. I remember as a kid, that was always like it's New York, who cares, like even Ghostbusters when like Rick Moranis is banging on the restaurant. Yeah, and everyone just like ignores him because like, it's New York. Everything's crazy in New York, and there's like a ton of those where like they're like, everybody, this is a fucking robbery, and they're just like, all right, it's New York, and they're just reading their paper.
Like, oh crap!
Oh, okay. But the sleeping passenger turns out to be a cop, and in the end of the movie, he jumps off and like rolls in this really dramatic way.
He does,
and then he gets like a couple shots off, but then gets killed.
Then he gets shot, and he's just like, "Oh, horrible." And Walter Matthau saves him. I think he doesn't die.
Oh, does he save him?
He does. Okay. He's not dead anyway when you last see him. And Walter Matthau's like, "We're gonna get you an ambulance, kid.
Yeah, you're gonna get a medal for this."
Yeah.
Great performance.
Jerry Stiller has great hair in it. It's very poofy.
Yeah, he's funny in it too. He's always great. He's like still the same dude he always is. He's like, what do they want? Tell them they can't get it.
I'm busy here.
Yeah. So that was cool. The producer said that the movie flopped in cities that didn't have a subway. Because they couldn't relate to it or something.
I can't relate to having to go to a place with other people. This is weird.
This would never happen in my town. So that was a interesting side note. But yeah, I don't know. It's like I felt like it was a pretty solid movie. The ending was weird, where Robert Shaw
just fries himself.
Yeah, because that was like,
oh, that's a shame.
Because it's like building up to be this huge standoff. Like Walter Matthau's like walking down. He's like, "I got you now, buddy," and he's all like, "You'll never get me alive," kind of thing. And they're really gonna hash it out. And then just out of nowhere, he's like, kills himself by stuffing his foot in
I think he says something like, "Do they have the death penalty in this state?"
Yeah. He's like, what? And he's like,
yeah.
That was weird.
I felt like both that sort of, because that could easily be in the movie, but then there's the final guy who actually got loose.
Yeah. He's the little shitty one.
So that is, I think, like a very sort of 70s kind of end, but then it doesn't actually end there. And it goes forward, and Walter Matthau and Jerry Stiller are looking for this last guy, the guy who had the cold. And Walter Matthau has figured out, okay, like one of them can drive the train, and he's probably, I can't remember why, but for some reason he's the guy who got loose, and we need to find him. And so they've cross-checked all the records, like guys who are discharged with cause, and they narrow it down to a certain number, and they're looking for him. And when they see him, or when they get to him and they see him, they talk to him in his apartment, they're about ready to leave.
Yeah, they're like, I'm getting tired, I want to get a hot dog.
Crap balls. Yeah, I'm out of here. But then he sneezes, and the movie literally ends with Walter Matthau has just said goodbye, sorry to bother you, sir. And he's about to close the door, and the guy sneezes, and he opens up the door, and he looks, and he's like,
and he doesn't even say anything, he just does it like
and
that.
That's the end of the movie. That, to me, is like very sort of like a movie would never end on that now.
And it was great. I thought it was because it kind of brought me back. Because after like that Robert Shaw death, I was like, well, that was kind of weird and anticlimactic. And I was like, he's a cool bad guy, and he just like, it's like, and he's dead. But then this dude, and he had that other bad guy was like before they show up to check him out, there's a scene where it's like the generic rolling your money kind of where he still has them in the bundles, and he just kind of flops on the bed, and he goes,
he's like wearing his robe, and he just looks gross. He's just like,
it's just he's not like making it rain on him or anything.
No,
it's just like
and he's sort of pudgy, and old, so his arms just kind of look like these
around.
Sort of flaccid wieners, like flopping around with his big balls of money. It's awesome.
It's really awkward.
And he's got this weird comb over and a cold. Yeah. It's definitely sexy.
Yeah. And then they knock on the door, and he's like, son of a... And he throws the money in the oven. But that last scene is perfect, because that was just so, like, perfect, classic Matthau, He's just like... And, all because of the sneeze, because I guess he was sneezing in the background of all the negotiations the whole time and stuff, and he was all like...
Walter Matthau is the one who was clever enough to figure it out.
Yeah, he got it. So that was weird but awesome. He got a little sneeze at the end. So yeah, I don't know. I dig it. Is it one of your classical favorites? Do you have a sentimental attachment to this movie?
I don't have like a sentimental attachment to it, other than it would come on like on Saturday afternoon after you'd already been outside playing, and you'd be like, what's this? It's like a good sort of thriller in like the original. I guess original kind of sense.
Yeah,
to me, anyway, the original.
It ropes you in. Yeah, it's a movie. Like if you tell somebody about it, you're like, I have no desire to watch this. But like if you watch the first 15 minutes,
you pull you in. You're like,
catch yourself watching.
Pull it off because I think Robert Shaw is really good at it because he is the guy. Like it's kind of perfect. It's unexpected, but kind of perfect at the end. He's just like, oh, okay, well,
he was awesome. That was definitely a takeaway I had from it. Where of course everybody knows him and loves him from Jaws, but I was just like, oh shit, yeah, I want to watch every movie this guy's been in. He's so good.
He died within a few years.
Yeah, I looked that off. That was a weird, sad, like he just had like a heart attack on the side of the road. Like, apparently a raging alcoholic kind of deal, but
aren't we all?
Exactly. Yeah. Woo! But sad because it was like, and apparently he talked to somebody on the set of this. He's like, they want me to do a movie with a big fish. You think I should do it? So I guess this was pre-Jaws, right?
I just like it's perfect that he's the dude who'll just kill himself because he's totally. And I think within the context of the movie, he's supposed to be like a former soldier of fortune or something. So he's just like this totally amoral guy. He's like, you can tell like, or you feel like he's not like the crazy guy. Like Hector Elizondo's character is just like this perv crap piece of shit. Like he's a disciplined guy within his own code, but he's just like, at one point he just kills a guy because he said he's going to do it. I mean, like, it's like, it's what needs to happen. I don't want to do it necessarily, but I have no qualms whatsoever about doing it. And it's just like, I think it's just the same in his mind. It's just like, oh, it didn't work. I was always going to kill myself. It didn't work. So here we go.
Totally. Cool. Well, thanks for recommending that one, man.
Yeah.
I dug it. Sorry I didn't quite return the favor for you. And threw you the cult classic film House. Also known as Hausu.
by Obi-Wan
Kenobi.
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
No, what is this? Obayashi?
Obayashi. That's what it is. Yeah, I was never going to remember that.
Yeah.
I have seen it before because I don't know if you knew this when you assigned it to me, but I love like kind of old classic 70s, 80s horror movies, and I mean it's fantastic. It is so uniquely of its time. Like it was like such a small way. It's like the movie Tron, right? Like there is the tiniest window of opportunity for the movie House or the movie Tron to have been made because not long before that time came along, they couldn't make it.
Yeah.
And not long after, no one ever would. Like they just like it just is this. It's the special effects are bizarre. There's like a lot of animation kind of stuff going on, and it's just
kind of poor animation too.
Oh yeah, it's bizarre.
Like, and kind of intentional from what I heard. Like they wanted it to be like childlike.
Oh, it's
weird.
childlike.
But
it's
I mean,
weird.
That might be something they said just to cover their ass.
It's just crazy. Like and like just even like the main character is gorgeous, and then she's got her friend who is
weird names, and
like
all just
sporty jocky and
kung fu fantasy,
and you're just like it is so like childish in its setup and its execution, yet it is just incredible. Like the demon cat, like and people and shit, and the head coming out of the well, and the piano getting people. It's just like it is a spectacle on par with like Italian zombie movies from around the same time. Like you just cannot, you won't see it anywhere else ever, no matter what. Like if someone remade it shot for shot, it just would not be the same. It could only have been.
Yeah, I'm surprised somebody hasn't tried to make some dumbass remake version.
How about House?
And Yeah, and it's weird because it's probably not the best representation of 77 by any means, just because it is Japanese and so fucking weird anyway, but that's not what we're going for, I guess. But
it does make me wonder, like, if you really had a good understanding of Japanese culture or of Japan, or if you were Japanese, that is, like, are there things there where it would not be so weird? Where you're like, okay, I have a reference for this. Like, of course, there's a demon cat picture, or whatever,
like represents something.
Yeah, when it would make more sense where you have like sort of a touchstone with it. But just watching it as an outsider, it is just so fantastic.
Because it's not even like overly. I mean, it's definitely artsy, but it's like just weird as shit.
Yeah, I mean, like
goofy, but not like trying to be funny. Maybe
where like the lighting and the setup and everything, you're like, I just got stuck on a Skinamax rerun from 1981. It's getting weird, you know. But then, of course, nothing happens, and then they go to the house, and freaking weirdo aunt in a wheelchair with the demon shit. Oh my god, it's weird.
That's so it's basically just a girl and her friends go to a house that's haunted with her crazy aunt, and then it just becomes a haunted house movie, basically, and they all get knocked off. But
it's absolutely worth a watch. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've seen it more than once and enjoyed it every time. Yeah, but it is just insanity. Like Technicolor,
visually,
craziness.
Just visually and entertainment wise. But I don't know. Did you say you enjoyed it though? It's always hard to tell if it's like.
I enjoyed it, yes, but you don't enjoy it in the same sense that you enjoy something where you're like, oh man, that was just a really good movie. Like, it's more of just a spectacle of weirdness and color and things happening and weird special effects that, again, I mean, like, you would just. Because pretty soon after that, Star Wars comes along, and the concept of a blockbuster comes along, and sort of these classic horror movies come along that really kind of define the genre of a horror movie as we know it today. And it just, you could never make that same movie today and get away with it. People would just call bullshit on it, but it just is what it is, and it is fantastically weird.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, well, I'm glad you dug it. I don't know. It's they said a lot of the effects were inspired by the director's actual 10-year-old daughter, like the ways that they got killed, all the girls. Like he would ask, like, so they would say, like, technically it was co-written by a 10-year-old, and it was like, which makes sense.
You're like, what?
So I don't know. It's pretty freaking weird, man. But I don't know.
I would give it a definite 5 stars out of 8.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like definitely everyone should watch it once in their life, but I don't know if you're gonna love it or.
I mean, Gavin actually owns it on DVD.
Yeah,
so.
I feel like it's just one of those movies everybody should have, for better or worse. But apparently, the Jaws tie-in too was in the concept stages, and when they were officially putting it all together, and. They said they wanted a movie like Jaws where, the characters get knocked off and like there's some kind of huge force that's killing them all or whatever, but then somehow it mutated into that. It's just like, what? It came up a few times and all the things I looked at were like, well, we basically wanted like a Japanese version of Jaws, but... Like, and then you ended up with like a haunted house
like
with pianos eating people.
Weird shit, yeah. Because like Jaws is a very straightforward sort of like force of nature,
like a
easily
realistic,
identifiable thing coming after you.
So it's hard to say, but I don't know. Like you said, it's definitely unique, and nobody can really.
House is a spectacle, but it is not a good film in the same way. Like Pelham is a good movie and a watchable movie in a sort of like Saturday afternoon kind of a sense, and it's very sort of straightforward. And like there is a definite just like, what in the fuck is going on with House?
House is definitely one of those movies where it's like the initial novelty is like awesome, and then you're like, this is visually awesome.
Yeah, like the color is like so saturated, and
then those last like 40 minutes, you're just like, all right, what the fuck?
Yeah, exactly. Like it is the ultimate movie. Like if you're gonna watch it, do it with like somebody else whom you can talk to, or like with the internet, so you can be like, I'm just gonna look up
Yeah, you can kind of just...
Because, like,
that's why I kind of want to own it, because
like,
it is something you could just kind of put on in the background and it looks cool too.
Yeah.
It's just fun to just kind of put on as like a glorified music video almost, you know? And
exactly. You could pull any images from that and they're stunning and kind of captivating, but as a moving narrative,
right.
Not
the fact
good.
that it's only like 88 minutes, but it feels like it's like 2.5 hours.
If you had asked me, I would have guessed that it was about 2 hours. Yeah, at least.
Good God, when's this thing gonna end?
It just won't die.
Yeah, or like Taking of Pelham was probably like close to 2 hours, I think, and
it feels like it's always like, oh, it was 90 minutes.
Yeah, it definitely zipped by pretty quick. That's why I was like shocked when he dies. You're just like, whoa, all right, I guess this is done.
No, because today, and I'm sure I don't know this, having not seen it. If you watch the Denzel version of that, I'm sure there's like some sort of post the jig is up, gotta chase him down scene where Denzel as Walter Matthau is and you're just like, this is not what we need. Is Walter Matthau just opening the door back up going, gotcha.
I heard you sneeze, you son of a bitch.
Well, should we move on?
Yeah, let's move on to the jams of the 70s.
Yes.
Not a big fan of music in the 70s. I think I've gone on the record probably saying 60s great, 80s great, 70s music not my favorite. But we got two technically classic albums that we bounce back and forth.
At the very least, influential.
Yeah. So yeah, you assigned to me Diamond Dogs, David Bowie, who's on everybody's mind. Even I guess it's been over a year now, even since he's died.
Wow, that seems impossible.
Crazy, because that was like with all the billion deaths of 2016. Even it like that one, I think it probably was the most like shocking to everybody and kind of stung the most in a weird way, you know?
Yeah.
Just because he's so alien-like that, I mean, everyone's talked about it through and through, but at this point where he's just like, you can't really picture him being a human, let alone dying.
It seemed like it was just this thing that would always be around.
Yeah, so it's sad, you know, but so Diamond Dogs, his album came out in May of 74.
When I was born.
Yeah, interesting, because Kraftwerk album that unintentionally came out in March of 77 when I was born, so weird.
Interesting.
It's all falling into place.
But, we planned it.
But so it's weird because it's like, you know, you can't really do Bowie's whole life story, but in the sense of like his albums and stuff, this was already like a phase where he's reinventing himself again, maybe the third time by this point, fourth time maybe. Yeah. He's the kind of dude, as everyone knows, that just kind of always was reinventing himself and like coming up, even if not for actual characters, but just different stages of his career and approaches. And and it's one of those weird albums, and he's a strange one for me in particular, where I always do these things every year where I take somebody that I like know that I like and I like the idea, but I just never really got into like deep cuts a lot and stuff. And multiple years I've done it with Bowie, where I'm like, all right, I'm gonna just sit down with all these albums and like really dig in, because I've always loved him and I love the idea of him, but I don't really like get past the singles much. Like I enjoy them and I definitely respect it, of course, but like never been a huge fan. And it's just really weird for me because it's like all my heroes are like directly influenced, like Care's, you know, huge. You know, it's like Bowie, Morrissey's huge. They're my top two, you know, and like everyone, even down to like Wilco, you know, is like loves David Bowie, you know, and I always love him, of course, like, you know, Labyrinth and shit. You know, you can't not like David Bowie, but like I never really dug like the deep cuts and stuff.
But I mean, it's like House, right? I mean, there's especially because it was so much of the definitive weird Ziggy Stardust, like put you on the map part of Bowie was glam. I mean, by definition, I mean, a lot of that is just spectacle, which is not to say the music was not worthwhile, but the spectacle was at least as important as the songs in some cases. And the two go hand in hand, so it's like if you maybe don't have a connection to or don't dig the spectacle, like, you know, like I could give a shit about Ziggy Stardust as a character, as a thing. I like some of the songs, but I mean, like if the two kind of go hand in hand to a certain degree, so it's hard to kind of get on board with that if you're just kind of like, I mean, it's sort of like talking about, you know, I've seen this movie or this thing remade over and over and over again. Like by the time I got around to checking out, older David Bowie and glam rock and Ziggy Stardust. You've seen it so many times at that point. There's nothing novel or interesting really about it left to be done because you've seen it copied so many times. And that's hard to
it's tough. And you really do have to put it in context of the album and both these albums that we're going to talk about, but this one in its own self in the sense that like he's so unique that he's timeless, but at the same time this album is so fucking 1974 in a way. It's like, and I felt like that actually took the most away from my negative side of the album. Like, they're cool songs, but I mean, it's so glam rock and so theatrical that it's like something preference-wise I don't personally dig a lot. And even really digging in on this listen, I was like, man, there's some great songs, and the songs just like go on these like very like epic journeys. It's definitely like concept album and stuff, and like how each song just, if you're not really paying attention, just blends right into the next one. You're like,
it's no Harry Connick Star Turtle.
No, but
as far as concept albums go, but it's out there.
You can't put it with the greats, but one day. But it's in that boat, Like it's crazy to just think that, like, preference-wise for me, I think I dig the songs more, like the actual songs on the album more, if he had been like lesser known. This had been like his first album and he just toned it down, like more just the production and stuff. It's that 70s production where even just like coming out with like the song Diamond Dogs is like live. I couldn't find anything to tell if it was like fake live or not, like where they just put the crowd noises. They do that a lot of times. It's just for, but it's like, it's weird because it's such a cool song, but it's like, it just sounds so like glam on stage with the pianos and the horns and shit. And like, to me, I'm like little, like, but I dig the song, so I'm always like kind of torn on these things. And like, just a lot of it, and like, and then researching it a bit more, like how that wasn't his like his main bands, like with Mick Ronson and stuff, like those Ziggy Stardust crew. He kind of took the helm more on producing this and getting like whole different bands. So it was more of like a genuine solo kind of thing going, because it did have like, it seemed to be missing like some of the nasty like guitar stuff, and it was a little too, almost sounded like it could be like an Elton John record or something almost from that, where there was like a lot of that going on. And then I had to like just look up other albums too, because I was like, it's weird, because like, where does this fit in the context of like Queen and shit, and like, and even like Rocky Horror Picture Show, like, because I felt like a lot of them were like just so dramatically in a cool Bowie way, of course, but at the same time, where it just gets like so like, I'm gonna be someone, like, and it's like Queen was like, like I think maybe their first album was the year before, 73, and Rocky Horror Picture Show was like year after, so it makes sense that that's kind of influenced more by like Bowie. So it's like, and it did fit, and I was just like, where does all of them fit? Like Lou Reed, Transformer, like with albums that I love but are from that era. They're all like a little bit before that, so like, so it still has a little of that like cover over like T-Rex and shit like that. I like Electric Warrior, but even that, like, you have to be kind of in the mood for that kind of glammy. Right. And that was like 71, 72, New York Doll stuff, 73. So it's all around that time, but it made sense that this would just be like, David Bowie like having the cred to be able to take it up a few notches and like come out like, I mean, it just comes out blazing with that fucking weird like spoken word thing in the beginning where he's like, hey, it's like, shit, here we go.
This is where we're starting.
Yeah, it's like clearly nobody's like trying to be like, well, David, maybe you need to establish yourself a little bit first before you can just go. It's like, no, I've built up to this and I'm gonna do it. And it was weird. I mean, there's just so many songs that do just like blend together. They're cool. And then there was like an alternate version of that Candidate one. Like, I downloaded initially like a bonus disc, probably a reissue thing. And it had like a whole other version of that Candidate song, and it was really cool. And I was like, oh shit! And then I realized it was a bonus track, and I was like, oh, but it is on the thing, but it's like a completely different take on it, and it's like in the middle of two songs. Like, they just kind of bleed them together from like Sweet Thing down to like Sweet Thing Reprise, you know, which is never a good idea to do. Fucking come back. I don't think that's ever worked. Even on Sgt. Pepper, that was just like, do we really need to revisit this? I mean, it wasn't
like we couldn't come up with just one. So like, we're just gonna throw both.
The journey back. I was like, it's only 40 minutes, man. It's not like we need to get reminded of a mediocre song after that. But,
remember that song we did earlier? It's great.
But yeah, I mean, and then of course like Rebel Rebel's the big one from that.
Yeah.
It's like that song's just like, and that just shows my preference. For like to me, that's like, wow, that song fucking is perfect. It's so cool.
Yeah.
But that's like the most clearly just a pop song, you know.
I mean,
where
it is like the perfect sort
and,
of balance of what he is and sort of sustainable appeal.
Yeah,
you know, like everything. And I think like the album itself is at some level. I read. Like he had wanted to do a musical, like a stage musical of 1984. And so, I mean, it makes sense that, you know, it didn't work out. Like, you know,
they didn't give him permission.
Yeah,
like,
and
the
it makes
state
sense.
was like, nah. But then, like, the whole second half is that.
Yeah,
and it was funny because I like listened to it, and I guess I've heard it a billion times before that, and never like, and it made a lot more sense. Like, okay, this is like a big theatrical deal,
right?
You know?
And it makes more sense in that context. As not when he died, for what, I mean, probably just because I was born in 1974, I was like, oh man, I'm gonna listen to this. And we were both still working at Genova together at the time, and I listened to it quite a bit at that time. And I mean, Rebel Rebel is, I mean, the best song on the album in a lot of ways. I mean, you know, it's certainly the one that has the most appeal moving forward through time. So the other ones, I mean, are good songs, but more so in the context of sort of serving this other you know, thrust of being a dramatic dramatization.
It's cool. And just like that idea of like, I don't know if you've heard much Pulp Stuff. That's another like Britpop band from like the 90s that I love a lot, and like just another example of like a band that I love, but you know, they're so influenced by like Bowie, you know. And it was just like funny how like these kind of things like even them though, I mean, like there's a few songs with these like 7-minute long songs that don't have like a distinct chorus or anything, you know, or just like parts, and it's like great when it works, but then sometimes it's so easy to just get lost in it. And I'm just like, just trim it, man. It just like is my like songwriter thing, but I mean, you can't like tell David Bowie how to write a song. But at the same time, I'm just like, it's like, where is this going? Like, you don't know what the hell, like, because there'll be like certain parts that are great, and then it just adds this whole thing on the end where it just goes into like some crazy choir or something, and he's just like, I'm like, is this even the same song? Like, what is happening?
What is happening with why are we doing this now? It could be done. And
you just kind of, with a legend like him, you just kind of assume that it's all on purpose and, you know, part of the vision, you know, so it's kind of like, you're like, whatever, man, you can't really criticize it, but at the same time,
I don't know, like, at some point, like, even if it's influential or important, or if the guy doing it, I mean, you know, sometimes it's just not
definitely
a good song.
That's how I mean it definitely felt a little bit like George Lucas-y, where it's like seemed like somebody should have just stepped in and been like,
rein it in.
Yeah, because you kind of wonder how like he must have had like pretty good momentum going at that point, like post Ziggy Stardust and shit, but like, you know, and like producer wise, just nobody really, if he's had total control kind of thing.
Like, they're all my toys.
Yeah, so I don't know, but I dug it, and it was nice to dig in, but it was sad to myself, even though I was like, damn, I still didn't really love it. I always want to like him. I always have that tier of musicians that I always like them more than they're like. It's like Rollins solo, you know. It's just it's like I love Rollins, but God, I can't listen to any of that shit.
Like, I don't want to. I love my perception of the person or the character more than the actual output. Yeah,
it's like, you know, Bowie. I love the singles, but maybe I'm just never going to be a deep cuts Bowie guy. I don't know, but one day, goddamn it, I'll get there. But how about you, Kraftwerk? Kind of a.
It was absolutely. I mean, speaking of, to pick up on the point of like the 7-minute song.
Yeah.
Like, I've listened to it a lot. I've got a 26-minute ride to work every morning, and then back home at the end of the day, and listen to the album a lot Trans-Europe Express.
Yeah.
And there's what, 6 songs? 7?
Maybe not even that. Like 8, maybe, but like 7. Yeah, 7, and the last one's like 56 seconds.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so 6, and they average like on the way over here today. Like I said, it's about a half-hour drive over, and like I got to hear about 2.5 songs, like right. So at what point, like when is it like? Because like the average pop song is what, 3-4 minutes, maybe. So when you're the people who are doing the 7 and 8+ minute song, like how do you know when it's done? Like how is it when everybody in the room is like,
finished
and it's done? Like that's enough. Like especially with a song like the Hall of Mirrors, like where it's like it is literally like I don't know 10 words in the whole song, and it just does it over and over, and yet at the same time it is like really captivating because I'm just like walking around at work like singing it to myself.
Even the greatest stars
ourselves in the looking glass, and his like accent is just so sort of hypnotically like stereotypical German, like it sounds like an SNL skit. It's fantastic. Like I think like my takeaway from it, having like when you assigned it to me, like I was aware of them as a thing, but really had not ever listened to it at all. And like I can absolutely see them being influential because so it came out in 1977, and around that time, a little after, like my babysitter was talking about Kiss and shit like that, and or even Genesis or stuff like that. I mean, like these sort of bands that or disco, and that kind of stuff was going on. So I could see like Kraftwerk just being mind blowing to people at the time, and then subsequently, you move into the early '80s being like really influential. But like to me, listening to it, it's really fun, and I can see it being very influential. But it's just such a weird fucking thing. Like it is simultaneously hard to believe it came from the 70s,
right? But
really dated.
Yeah, that was a great point. Like when we talked earlier, it's like, I mean, it was so far ahead of its time. Yeah. But then at the same time, as soon as you hear it, you're like, this is so dated.
Yeah, it's like the Tron thing. Like, it could only have been made in this little window of time.
Future, but not the future.
It's the future where we all do this in the very normal when we talk like this. And it's just like, it could only have been made at that certain time, and I can absolutely see like a young Robert Smith listening to that and it just being like, whoa, that is all, like
just like because even like the songs, even going back to my infatuation with songwriting and stuff, they're not really something that I'm like, wow, but like it's the tones and the riffs and the cool little pieces of like, and just nobody was doing anything like that at that time, and just like these, like it's just crazy. Like again, like all the people that I worship are so directly, and they've kind of even been. One of their legacies of history is that they were like up there with the Velvet Underground and the Beatles, basically, as far as influential, factor. Of course, so many people were influenced on everything from like, cause not even just bands like Depeche Mode and The Cure and Joy Division, all those like, but genres, because like nobody had even had like synth pop.
I was gonna say,
it was like there wasn't
music on that level.
Yeah, because like I was shocked. There was a cool documentary on YouTube I watched where it's basically all about like synth pop and like OMD, orchestral maneuvers in the dark, who most people just know from like If You Leave, the Pretty in Pink song and shit. But they started super early 80s, and they were like they just heard Kraftwerk and they're like, fuck, we gotta do this. And you hear that as soon as you hear it, because I always loved them, but I never really got into Kraftwerk, and you just hear like this like kind of those grittier riffs and stuff. And
I could definitely put myself in the position of it being like 1981 and hearing that, and just I can absolutely see hearing that, and it just igniting your brain.
Especially coming off the heels of like we were talking about with like prog rock and shit, like Genesis, where everyone's just playing like 9-minute guitar solos basically and shit. Like once you hear like some like, because even most of those riffs are all just like and then it's like you're like, oh, this is awesome. But like,
it's fantastic, and it's just like, and it is sort of like, how do you know when the 9 whatever minute song is done?
Far.
And it's just like, like it's like in the same way that as a painter that the painting's done.
Yeah.
Like, like you're just like, and it's done.
And there's probably like
That's
a 15-minute version of that song out there where they were just like, let's trim it back, or
where they're just like, I don't know if it's just like you get this sense that you could almost have been there and like having drinks with them and just jamming and just being nuts and weird and and then like the other part of me, like the sort of like amused part of me, or like I want to see it as almost like a joke. Like I could just see like these guys in like black mock turtlenecks,
like it was just based on that picture of the album cover, which I think they're kind of joking, but it's all like like their hair all greased over. They look like they're like Ken dolls and stuff. Like it's really cool, and like I think, but I just see this version of them just being like just sprockets. Yes, like just ridiculous. It's so hard to take completely seriously. Like it doesn't really hold up, yet I can see where it was just enormous to people. Like where they're just like, wow. And even that idea of influences, I mean, whole little in synth pop, but then they basically started like just electronic music, techno, whatever you want to call it. That like, because even those songs, it's just like a beat for like way too long, and that was always my problem with like my brothers got into like rave music and shit, which I guess would become the techno in the 90s or whatever, but like basically just electronica, but yeah, I'm just always like, just do something with it. That's why I love like New Order, because you like take that and then you put a pop song over it and it's like, bam, everyone wins. This is great. This is like electronic shit that's just like, and it was kind of the same thing as like those Diamond Dog songs too, or if you're not paying attention and you're not super familiar with it, you're like, is this the same fucking song? Like, because it'll go into like a whole other thing, and then like tracks? Out of nowhere, then eventually 9 minutes later, even the great. It's just like he's still going. Jesus, it's the same song. And I had like the revelation of like just I like putting it on for some shit. It's like great because it's like you're kind of listening. Like I said, I was folding some laundry, and I'm like, this is fucking awesome, man. I need to listen to all their albums more closely and stuff like that, and like. But then, like, I was trying to write an email while it was playing, and I was just like, stop! God, this is so annoying! I was just like, I can't concentrate. But,
but at the same time, like, it will just get, like, I mean, seriously, I'll just be like, I've listened to it a lot since we assigned it, and, like, I'll just be walking around just thinking, even the greatest
it just sneaks in there. It's like when you only have one line, it's gonna be catchy.
Exactly. Like people I work with are like, what is wrong with you, man?
Yeah, apparently there's like German version too, like they did like a whole like re-recorded it kind of thing. That would be pretty cool to hear. Yeah, I'm surprised I didn't see it floating around more, but I'll have to dig into that.
I mean, are they German? Like I didn't. Like I just wanted to just listen to the album as what it is and not delve into it. And then this happened. This is why. So I didn't really. I know nothing about the guys.
Yeah, I think they're still going. I think they've rotated a lot of them out. But yeah, I mean, I think they even like started in '69. I think
they joined up with Devo.
It's like something like that. I mean, you think of Devo even being like this super like completely original band that nothing on Earth has ever seen, but really, what do you say this? It's like, this is the same
Kraftwerk with weird hats.
Yeah, like the whole Pocket Calculator song, that's like their big hit, I guess, or whatever, like the song people know them for them. Yeah, I don't know, those long songs, I think if they trimmed them down, but it wouldn't be the same. So you gotta do it. You gotta have it.
You do, and I mean, like, it does work. I mean, like, if it were shorter, I don't know that it would...
especially if you didn't like turn it into like a New Order or Depeche Mode kind of song. Like those early Depeche Mode songs are definitely all in the like Yaz and stuff like that, or like they're all like so similar, but they just kind of harness the riff and the beat, and then they make a pop song out of it. Because like those songs you could play on an acoustic guitar and it would be like a song still, but like Kraftwerk on an acoustic guitar just probably isn't.
Maybe not as good. Maybe.
But maybe we'll see. Maybe we'll try a little cover at the end.
Will.
Stay tuned, listener.
Perhaps we'll do the greatest things ever.
Yes. Well, that brings us to our childhood as we wind down. Yeah. We reflect back on our years. Yeah, we had a pretty long break in the middle there, but
that's true. Yeah.
So we're winding down now, but we like to reminisce of our days of youthfulness. That's funny because I think the initial pitch was, what was your childhood favorite candy? Yes. And I think we both indirectly maybe chose ones that we like got when we went to the movie theater.
Yes,
yeah, I don't even know if that was like intentional.
I don't know if that. Well, we didn't really get candy until I was like at least 5 or 6 years old. 6 years old. I thought that plain Cheerios were a treat. Mm-hmm. Because my parents just didn't give us anything else.
Like,
so unless we were the Cheerios were a treat, like we'd go to church, right, every Sunday, and like we would just get like a little bag of Cheerios. If we were really lucky, we'd get like a Velament, which is like a squarish.
My mom used to chomp those things.
Yeah, my Aunt Ellen always had Velaments, but that was it. So it was a long time. Unless we went to the movies, it was like we never had any kind of candy.
Wow, that's good.
So yeah, like to me.
So your movie go-to is the
Jujubes.
Jujubee.
Juji
Fruits. Yeah, I wrote Juju Fruits on here, but
Jujubes are similar but different.
Yeah, are they in the same family then?
They're in the same family. Yeah. Way different shapes.
So these are Juji Fruits.
Juji Fruits. They come in a box.
Right.
They're called Juji Fruits, which would lead you to believe they're all fruit flavored, but they're not. Because one is licorice flavored.
Yeah. There's licorice, and then they didn't totally match up by color, I felt like.
No, and the shapes are completely bizarre because there's like one that's shaped like corn.
Yeah.
There's one that's shaped like a bell
bag
pepper.
Of berries.
Yeah. like none of them are the shapes of any fruits. I think there is a banana, but there's not a banana flavor. And
just tastes yellow.
Like all of the shapes are shared throughout all of the colors, so it's not specific to that. One looks like a Jello mold that your great grandma might have made or whatever. Yeah.
Well, the pack I got a few weeks back, it was they definitely get stuck in your teeth.
Oh yeah, they'll glue your mouth together.
I was like, oh god. But they're fruitful in the sense they're flavorful, and it's a good choice.
I enjoyed it.
Not quite like gummies, They're not like they're close, but not.
No, and like you get a really good box if you're like a Jujubee lover. You get an old box, and they're just like even more chewy, where they just even more get stuck in your mouth. That is where it's at, man. I don't want them fresh.
In there.
Yeah. It's great, man. It's great.
Damn. Yeah. I guess they. Not from the 70s, 20s originated?
The 20s,
Both of ours, yeah. My choice was from the 20s, too, so I guess that was around when they... Probably because of the movies, so they probably...
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Started cranking stuff out specifically for movies, but yeah, my candy was movie theater, too, for some damn reason.
I was assigned snow caps, which are sort of the size and shape of a gumdrop, but they are chocolate, a semi-sweet chocolate, with, how do you say it en français, non-pareil. Like sprinkles on the outside.
Shitty sugars.
Just like little beads of sugar all over the outside. And I'd never eaten them before because, number one, they weren't popular ones. My dad is not one to go to the movies. So we would typically go to the movies with my mom for that reason. And she is like a Juji Fruit type person. Mike-and-ites and that kind of thing. So that's what I like. So we would get... I do like a junior mint from time to time. So we just didn't have a whole lot of the chocolate candies, and I'd never had snow caps before. They weird me out a little bit because I'm like, why? What
it's
is
like
this thing?
Like just a chocolate chip with...
Essentially, it's just like a sort of a slightly soft... It's like a really hard piece of chocolate. Yeah. A slightly soft, semi-sweet chocolate with these white sprinkles on the outside, essentially. I like the texture. Like, I like when you put it in your mouth and you're like, it's kind of weird and bumpy and stuff. And the chocolate is okay, So, overall, it's fine. Yeah. It's all right. Yeah, I don't know that I'll be buying any more boxes.
No, I don't think I'll be binging on any Juji Fruits anytime soon.
Yeah, because they definitely come in a box, like a movies theater box. And by the time I had a third of that box, I was just like, I kind of had enough.
Yeah. How do you still feel about Juji Fruits? Are you still big on them?
I love them. I love black licorice. Okay. And there are not many opportunities to have that flavor, short of just buying black licorice. So
even though I adored snow caps, I've never eaten them anymore. Once I realized that you could get goobers at movie theaters, I was
like, man, is that? Why would you do love peanuts?
I love some peanuts and cover that shit in chocolate.
It's fucking
goodbye snow caps.
Better, man.
But that was a good first at least 10 years of my life, and movie watching was I always felt like it was kind of like by default more when I just saw it and it was chocolate, and I was like, I have that.
I like chocolate.
I didn't really.
It's got sprinkles.
I never really remember even loving them, but I just would just eat them while I watched them.
Yeah.
It's just always like, again, like wonder if you just put like 1,000 of them in your mouth and they all just like morph into like some giant ball of
horribleness.
You watch Gremlins with
You're
a giant
drooling
mouthful
all
of
over yourself.
Yeah, so who knows? But yes, many fine hours in theaters were spent eating snow caps in the 80s.
Snow caps.
Yeah. Ugh. Again, a candy from the 20s that eventually Nestle bought in 1984.
Bastards.
Maybe that's around when it all started going
That's when it all went
down.
south. It used to be something special.
But you know, if Nestle wants to sponsor this podcast,
That's right. Yes, we love your
we'll
chocolates.
be willing to change our mind.
That's right. I love a snow cap so very much.
Oh man! So I can still buy a pack of Juji fruits and you'll enjoy them, huh?
That's right. You can go get them in a box. They're delicious. The red ones are good. The green ones are good.
Nice.
The black ones are delicious. If you don't like them, you can send them to me.
Put them in a Ziploc bag.
Via Twitter. Send me your black
And you can
fruits.
still say no at the post office when they ask you if this is anything perishable.
Like, no,
nope.
it's fine.
This thing will survive a nucular
400 years from now. It'll still be good. It'll be a little chewier.
Awesome. Well, I feel like I got to know the 1974 year a little bit better.
Yes,
I mean,
77 was clearly great.
I guess we can't really say that we enjoyed any of these artifacts in the year that we were born because we were 1 year old.
That's true.
I was not really watching Hausu or listening to Kraftwerk.
No.
But damn it, I would have been cool if I was.
That's right. We would have had much less responsible parents if we had been eating like snow caps and watching House at the ages we were.
Welcome to the world, Craig. Here's Diamond
Here
Dog.
you go.
Makes sense
Enjoy
of
your
this
Juji fruits,
as
infant.
you watch Taking Pelham 1, 2, 3. Oh, this is fun! So any closing thoughts?
Like 77 was a good year. It brought us Gavin Connor.
Woo!
And that dude is all right.
Still here.
He's still here. He's still making things happen. And he's the mastermind behind this podcast.
Well, thanks so much for listening. I'll quote the great Ryan Adams in reference to your year of bloody like the day I was born, 1974. All right, guys. We're going to try to cover Kraftwerk for you now.
It's going to be incredible.
This is the big payoff for making it to the end of this episode.
That's right.
So here we go.
We did this for 9 minutes. We just made Kraftwerk songs.
Legends. That's the trick, is you gotta just be the one to do it first.
Find themselves in the looking glass. Even the greatest stars find themselves in the looking glass.
Showroom dummies.
Showroom dummies. This is great. Even the greatest stars find themselves in the looking glass. Even the greatest stars find themselves in the looking glass. the greatest stars find themselves in the looking glass. Even the greatest stars find themselves in the looking glass.
Beautiful.
That was fantastic. That was at least as good as the original.
Be sure to subscribe to the Pretend Podcast on iTunes, where you can rate us and review us. If you want to email us directly, write to thepretendpodcast@gmail.com. Follow us on Instagram and go on over to the Facebook page, where you'll find all the stuff that we've been talking about. Till next time.